Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg were taking over the game together back in the 90s. Death Row had become one of the most powerful labels in the industry almost overnight. Looked like nothing could slow them down. But everything wasn't cool behind the scenes, and then a beef started between Suge and Snoop that got so heated, Suge tried to take Snoop out. A lot of rap fans don't know what went down back then, so today, we're breaking down the wild story of how it all happened. Let's get right into it. Snoop came up in Long Beach, selling drugs and repping the Rollin' 20 Crips. He started rapping as a kid, but didn't take music seriously until he caught a charge and got booked on cocaine possession. After getting out of jail, he linked up with Nate Dogg and Warren G to start a rap crew called 213. They started selling mixtapes out of the trunk of a car, and that's how Dr. Dre heard Snoop Dogg and brought him in to work on his debut album, The Chronic. Snoop came over to Death Row, but rumors say Suge wasn't rocking with the idea at first. Suge's affiliated with the Mob Power Rules. Snoop was rocking with the Crips. Snoop told the Breakfast Club,
some of my homies didn't like his homies, some of my homies shot at his homies, he shot at some of my homies. It was a lot of, and then we had to become cool.
Whatever street politics they had going on at the time, none of it mattered after The Chronic dropped. Dre already had momentum after being in NWA, but The Chronic launched him, Snoop, and Death Row to the next level. Snoop became one of the hottest rappers in the game out of nowhere, and Death Row wanted to get his album out as soon as possible to keep the momentum up. But while Snoop was finishing up the record, he got caught up in a murder case that almost ended his career before it ever really started. In August 1993, Snoop and his homies were chilling outside his apartment when a dude named Philip Merriam came through and started causing issues. People who saw it go down say Philip threatened Snoop with a gun and told him he was in his hood. Plus, he had allegedly already pointed a gun at Snoop's head during the music video shoot. When Philip and his crew drove off, Snoop and his homies got in his Jeep and chased him down. They found Philip at a local park, and the crew started yelling back and forth. That's when Philip reached for a strap, and Snoop's bodyguard killed him before he could let off a shot. Snoop and his bodyguard both got hit with murder charges, and Snoop spent the next 2 years fighting the case. Snoop had jumped off the porch at a young age, but the situation with Walter Merriam had a massive impact on him. He told the LA Times, "The media is quick to point their finger when trouble strikes. I guess they think I'm macho and I don't care or something. But man, I'm someone who's trying to turn his life around, and it gets emotional." After he was finally acquitted of the murder charge, Snoop says it made him realize he didn't want to live the gangster life no more. He just had a son, his career was popping off, and he knew that he didn't have to stay in the streets and crash out anymore. Snoop wanted to start squashing beefs and spread positivity, but he was signed to one of the most violent dudes in the history of the rap game. At the same time Snoop was talking about peace, Suge had linked up with Tupac and sparked the entire war between the East and West Coast. Pac had been locked up on a sexual assault case and was going broke in prison, so his wife at the time set up a meeting between him and Suge. Suge flew out to New York and visited Pac in prison. Then a couple days later, he went on stage at the Source Awards and called out Diddy and the East Coast on live TV. Suge got Tupac out on an appeal, and they started putting pressure on the East Coast right away. Pac put out the track Hit 'Em Up and said, "First off, f*** your bitch and the clique you claim. West Side when we ride, come equipped with game. You claim to be a player, but I f***ed your wife. We bust on bad boys, for life. Plus Puffy trying to see me, weak hearts I rip. Biggie Smalls and Junior Mafia, some mark-ass Tupac and Suge were going to war, but Snoop wasn't rocking with the drama. He said he was trying to shake hands with people and stop the violence because it may not be over till somebody get killed. Even though Snoop didn't want to jump into beef with Pac, they were always tight. Snoop says Pac was like a brother to him, but eventually, the East vs West Coast beef put a split in their relationship. Snoop was in New York with Pac, Suge, and some other dudes from Death Row. He had just gone on Hot 97 with Angie Martinez, and she asked him how he felt about Diddy and Biggie. Instead of adding more fuel to the war, Snoop told her, "They my homeboys, I love them." What Snoop didn't know is that his answer wouldn't just hurt his relationship with Pac, it almost got him killed. When Snoop got back to the hotel where Pac, Suge, and the rest of the Death Row crew was at, no one was rocking with him. They all left to go back to LA the next day, but Snoop says Suge wouldn't let any of his security come with him. By that point, Snoop knew he was in a dangerous situation. When they got on a private plane to fly back to LA, Snoop says he grabbed a knife and a fork to defend himself, then walked to the back of the plane with a blanket to hide. He had no idea what could happen next, so Snoop just sat back and watched everyone the whole flight. Snoop tried talking to Pac again when they touched down, but Pac just ignored him. Then, just a few days later, Pac was shot and killed in Vegas. Pac's death had a huge impact on Snoop, and this what finally turned him against Suge for good. Snoop accused Suge of being involved with Pac's death, and he announced he wouldn't release any more music on Death Row. Suge went to jail over a probation violation, and Snoop signed with Master P's label, No Limit Records. Snoop said, "I was working against the devil." After he left death row, Suge allegedly put a bag on his head, and the situation was getting crazy. When Snoop went on The Breakfast Club in 2016, Envy said the danger was real. He said,
No, it was serious for everybody out there. Like, Snoop had security guards. Like, to meet Snoop back in the day, and this might have been like 15 years ago, you had to. It was a vetting process.
As
like,
it should
You had to
be.
go through. Like, it was scary.
Especially after Pac and Big just got
It
killed.
was scary.
Snoop wasn't backing down though. And in 2002, he dropped the track Pimp Slap and said, "This like his wife. Suge Knight's a and that's on my life. And I'm gonna let the whole world see, cause you up the industry and that's on me." It didn't seem like the kind of beef that would get squashed, but in 2005, Snoop and Suge put it all behind them at a summit called Unify the West. Snoop told Vlad TV,
Meaning of the minds of two great minds that realized that going at each other wouldn't do nothing but leave two dead minds.
even after Suge got booked for killing a dude during the filming of Straight Outta Compton, Snoop says they kept in touch over the phone and were even talking about doing a movie on death row together. It's wild that Snoop was able to forgive a dude who tried to get him killed, but it just proves that he really is trying to change the game and not stay wrapped up in beef. He took it a step further this year when he actually bought Death Row Records. Death Row was pretty much dead after Snoop left back in the 90s. With Suge locked up, Tupac dead, and Dr. Dre leaving to start his Aftermath label, nobody was left to hold it down. The label changed hands a few times over the years, and in February, Snoop announced that he had bought it from a company called Blackstone Music Group. Death Row will probably never be as powerful as it was back in the day, but it's still great to see it in the hands of someone like Snoop. It's been a wild ride from the days when he was just helping Dre out with the Chronic. He had to beat a murder case, survive the war between the coasts, and go head to head with Suge Knight. But now Snoop owns a piece of music history that he helped create.